Good morning, children. How are you all? Hope you all are doing well. Welcome to your English class. Now, what we are going to do today is related to this picture. Can you recognize this great personality? Yes, he is Rabindranath Tagore, a well-known Bengali poet, novelist, musician, painter, and a playwright. He was a man with a variety of interests. We will know little more about him. You all know he is the one who penned our national anthem Jana Gana Mana. He was lovingly called Gurudev. He was born on 7th May 1861 in Kolkata. He started writing poetry at the age of 8. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913 for his work Gitanjali. He reshaped Bengali literature and music as well as Indian art with modernism in late 19th and early 20th centuries. He died on 7th August 1941 in Kolkata. So children, today we are going to start a lesson written by Sri Rabindranath Tagore. It's lesson 9, Rats on a Train. This lesson is basically a play. You know what is a play? Yes, it is a piece of writing performed by actors in the theatre or on TV or radio. It is a kind of drama usually consisting of dialogue between characters intended for theatrical performance rather than just reading. So children, let's get started. Chapter 9, Rats on a Train by Rabindranath Tagore. Just before your school reopens for a new session, what are your expectations and apprehensions? Do you fear losing a good friend who might be sent to another section of the class? Who will be your teacher for the new year? Read this play about a few boys who don't want a new Sanskrit teacher. So children, when your school is also about to start, you too have some expectations and apprehensions. Apprehensions mean fear, especially about future. So you also feel something of this kind. Well, in the present scenario, the biggest apprehension for the parents is sending the child to school. What if he gets in contact with an asymptomatic carrier? Should he or she be sent to school? When will schools reopen? Is this academic year wasted? Etc. etc. So, in the same way, these boys also had some apprehensions. Now, let's see what are they. The characters of this play are a group of boys. The strongest and the biggest one is called Bikhan. Now there is a group of boys, and the boy who is strongest and biggest of this group, he is called Bacon. Then there is an elderly man, a middle-aged man who is secretary of the school committee, and two vendors. right? So let's begin the play. Scene 1. Inside a coach of a train, a group of boys are seated on their berths. They are talking in excited voices. So now the scene is inside a coach of a train. A group of boys are seated on their berths. Berth is a place to sit or sleep, especially on a train. So they are talking in excited voices. Narrator: schools are about to reopen and students are going back to school from their homes. Boy 1 says, "This is ridiculous. A new Sanskrit teacher." Boy 2: "Certainly not. We refuse to be taught by a new teacher." Boy 3: "What's the new teacher's name?" Boy 1: I believe it's Kali Kumar Tarkalankar." Bacon, the biggest and strongest of them: "We will give him such a hard time that he won't even dare to continue teaching us. Let him show up." So the boys are talking among themselves that their school is about to reopen, right? And these boys are boarders. They are going back to school from their homes. At this, boy 1 says with disappointment that we will have to face a new Sanskrit teacher. Now, boy 2 very aggressively says that they refuse to be taught by a new teacher. Boy 3 asks the name of the new teacher. At this, boy 1 replies with some doubt that it's Kali Kumar Tarka Lankar. Now, Bacon, he says that they would give the new teacher such a hard time that he won't dare to continue teaching them. And then he challenges. He says, "Let him show up. Let the new teacher just arrive. I will show him, or we will not allow him to teach us." Fine. So this is a dialogue between the boys. They are talking among themselves about their new teacher, Kali Kumar Tarkalankar. Let's see the next one. Look, the train has come to a halt. "What's this place called?" Boy 4 asks. Bacon: "Read the board, silly. It's Arkula." An elderly man boards the train. He is carrying a bedroll, a few bundles, a big trunk, and 2 large earthen pots. So, boy 1 says that the train has stopped. Halt means to stop. At this, boy 4 asks what that place was called. Bacon tells him to read the board and said it's Arkula. Now, at this point of time, from Arkula station boards an elderly man in the train. He is carrying a bedroll, few bundles, a big trunk, and 2 earthen pots. Children, do you know what is a trunk? Trunk is a large, rigid piece of luggage used usually for packing and transporting clothes and other things. So, Bacon then says rudely, "Why are you coming in here? Can't you see this coach is full? Go to the next coach. Elderly man. All the coaches are full. There isn't even place to stand in any of them. I'll sit in a corner and won't bother you children at all. So, when the elderly man entered the coach, Bacon almost shouted on him. Very rudely, he objected and asked him why he was coming to their coach, and further added that couldn't he see that the coach was full, and instructs him to go to the next coach. The elderly man informs them that all the coaches were full and there wasn't any place even to stand in any of them. He informed the children that he would sit in a corner and won't bother them at all. The elderly man rolls out his bedding on the floor and sits comfortably on it. So now the elderly man settles on the floor in the compartment by rolling out his bedding, and he comfortably sits on it. Where are you boys going? Asked the elderly man. Now Beacon replies, we are going to sort out somebody. Elderly man, and who is that? Beacon, Kalo Kumbro Tatka Lanka. Boys together, Kalo Kumbro Tatka Lanka. Elderly man says, in Bengali this means black pumpkin and red hot chili. Bacon, we know that. The boys laugh loudly while the man begins to read a newspaper. So now, when the elderly man had settled himself on the floor of the compartment, he starts his conversation with the boys and asks them where they were going. To this, Beacon replied that they were going to sort out somebody. When the elderly man asked them who that was, to which Beacon and then all boys together answers Kalo Kumbro Tatka Lanka. Elderly man informs them that in Bengali that meant black pumpkin and red hot chili. Bacon told the elderly man that they knew about it, and then the boys laughed loudly while the elderly man started reading newspaper. Now boy 4 says, the train has come to a halt again. Elderly man, we have reached Asansol. Then standing up, he says, I'll be back soon. I need to have a wash. So the elderly man exits. The boys get busy looking into the earthen pots that belong to the elderly man. They happily dig into his food, they giggle and laugh. And Beacon says, wait till he sees his pots plundered. The elderly man re-enters the coach. So, boy 4 says that the train has again stopped. The elderly man informed them that they had reached Asansol, and standing up, he said he would be back soon as he needed to have a wash. The elderly man exits the compartment, and the boys got busy looking into his earthen pots. They happily dig into his food and giggled and laughed while devouring the food. And then Beacon says, "You all just wait and let the elderly man see his pots plundered." Plundered means the contents of the pots are stolen. Now, the elderly man enters the coach again. What happens next? Let's see. Boy 1. "Get off this coach. There are rats all over the place." Elderly man surprised. "Rats? Where are the rats?" Bacon says, "Look at your pots. See what they have done while you were away. Mister, those horrible rats have run away with most of your food." The elderly man looks into the pot. Boy 2 says, "And they have even carried away the mangoes you had in that bundle." The man lifts his bundle only to find it much lighter than before. Elderly man smilingly, "It doesn't matter. Had I known there would be rats on this train, I would have got a larger stock of food. It doesn't matter now." The boys look very disappointed. So, when the elderly man re enters the coach, he enters again. Boy 1 refrains him from doing so and informs him that there are rats all over the compartment. The elderly man was surprised and asked, "Rats? Where are the rats?" Because he was sitting on the floor of the compartment, so he knew that there were no rats. Still, he asked them, "Rats? Where are the rats?" In answer to this question, Beacon replied and told him to look at his pots and see what the rats have done to them. While he was away, the rats have taken away most of his food. Beacon further adds that those horrible rats have run away with most of his food. The elderly man looks into the pots, and in the meantime, Boy 2 informs him that the rats have also carried away the mangoes which he had in the bundle. Now, the elderly man lifted that bundle and found it much lighter than before. Elderly man seems to have understood that this is the mischief of the boys. So smilingly he replies that it doesn't matter if the rats had run away with his food, and adds that if he had known that there would be rats on this train, then he would have got a larger stock of food. But at that point of time also, it didn't matter much for him. The boys looked disappointed as the elderly man's reaction to the whole situation was not as expected by them. So they were not very happy. Boy 3. "Beacon, now at Bardhaman there will be an hour's halt and we have to change our train." Elderly man says, "Yes, we need to change trains. Now I will look for a seat in a separate coach. I won't trouble you boys any more." Boys together, "No, no, you must come along with us. We will guard your bundles and pots." Bacon, "We will ensure that rats don't take away the food that is left." The boys and the elderly man get off the train. Now, After that incident was over, Boy 3 reminds Beacon that at Bardhaman, that is the name of the next station which is to arrive, that at Bardhaman there will be a halt of an hour and they have to change their train. The elderly man also affirmed to this and said that they needed to change trains, but in the other train he would look for a seat in a separate coach and he wouldn't bother the boys any more. Boys very quickly replied together that he must come along with them and that they would guard his bundles and pots. And Beacon specially mentioned that they would ensure that the rats don't take away the food that is left with him. The Bardhaman station arrived. The boys and the elderly man got off the train. Now, children, this is scene 1 of the lesson. Now, there is scene 2 also. What happens after this? Okay, that we are going to discuss in next video. Fine. So that's all for now. Okay. Till we meet again. Thank you. Take care. Have a good day.